How's it going today, everybody? Ed Kernan for Rexylab. Welcome to C&M Music in Lafayette. This is going to be really exciting, and I'm totally jazzed for it. A while ago, C&M got a Plek machine. I thought this is great because, you know what? I'm in so tight with these guys, they're probably going to let me screw around with their Plek machine. And here we are. This guitar, for anybody that remembers the video when buying a guitar on eBay goes wrong, will know that pickup cover fell off of this thing. It had a couple issues, but the biggest issue now facing it is that there's totally a dead note right up here, 19th fret. And I figured this would be perfect for the Plek to demonstrate everything. So that's what we're gonna do today. We've got to get the tech in that knows how to run this thing, because as of yet, I do not. And we're gonna dispel all the myths today of what that machine over there is. Let's get to the most important part first. What does it do?
Fretwork, very well. It
Great.
does fingerboard planing. It can make a bone nut from a blank, very well. Saddle cutting, you can do dot inlays. The use we use it for is fret cutting.
Anything that's not on the fretboard or the nut, it doesn't do.
No, it doesn't do soldering, neck adjustments, shimming. It doesn't do any of that.
So this needs to be done by a tech that knows what they're doing.
Yeah, you have to set up the guitar beforehand and afterwards.
Yeah.
To make it playable.
So it's just not like, oh my God, I've got this horrible guitar, half of it's missing, I'm just gonna put it in a Plek and magically it'll be fixed.
No.
This guitar right here, you know a little bit about it. Yeah, for the most part, you know, I would have just leveled and crowned the frets after adjusting the truss rod, but I decided to bring it in as is. We'll just go through the whole thing with the Plek.
Well, the great thing about the Plek is the first scan, the initial scan, will show you everything wrong with it that on the fretboard wise.
Great, let's do it.
Put the guitar in here, and then that's the nut indicator.
Okay.
So the nut has to be above this piece.
All right.
That's pretty much it right there. And then this is the cradle adjustment, my calibration tool. It pretty much puts the guitar at 0 on the Z plane of the machine.
Okay.
So it knows where to start looking, and this is getting it at the starting line.
All right. So if it doesn't start from exactly what it knows is 0,
it gives errors.
Right.
And you have to figure out what's going on. If the guitar is at a weird angle, it's either like left to right shift or too far in or too far out of the cradle.
All right.
So if there's something going on, the machine lets me know immediately. It doesn't function further, and that's good. So yeah, now it's in the cradle.
Great. Okay, so now we close it and...
we make sure the guitar's in tune.
Okay.
Which it is, we just tuned it up.
We did just tune it.
And then I have to get some measurements. So once we got the guitar in the cradle, we'll tell what kind of guitar it is. So it's a standard scale length electric guitar. It's right-handed.
Yep.
It's
22.
got 22 frets. Every time we Plek something, we run it under stainless.
Okay.
For many reasons. Mainly it saves our life of the bit because it's running at half speed.
Okay.
Makes it cleaner cuts too.
I would imagine half speed would be much cleaner.
Yeah. Do you know what string gauge you have on it?
Yeah, 9 to 42.
9 to 42. We'll filter that. Just the regular lights. They have different.
Yeah, no, they're
I don't
just...
think these vary.
They're regular. They're just your standard Diodario.
Yeah, these vary on the D. It's a 22 or a 24, but that doesn't really make a difference. We just use the regular lights. Regular tuning, E standard.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it acts all of this because that affects the tension of the neck. And then now we can set what action you want. So I have presets.
Right.
Or we can do it by hand. So do you have a action you want on this guitar?
You know what? It's got a locking whammy bar, so I usually like really, really straight neck, very low action, but not buzzing. You know, your standard 80s guy, lowest possible, no buzz.
That would be like my electric low medium.
Nice.
Which is 1.7 on the low E and 1.5 off the high E, off the 12th fret. So
I imagine this thing's
pretty low.
It's gonna measure the radius of the fretboard too.
It does. It doesn't show that, but it puts that in calculation because.
Okay. So I have yet to
keeps
put
the
a
radius, but yeah, we just use that preset.
Okay.
it's a very, very good action. And any details about it, so it's a Washburn.
It's a Washburn G2V.
G2V. Black, just some neat detail.
Yeah, rosewood, maple.
You don't have to do condition.
Yeah,
I really don't fill any of this stuff out.
No, I don't think it's necessary.
It's mainly to pull up guitars that we create a count. So like that created a profile. Eddie
Right.
You can put your phone number, but we're not put that on camera.
No, that I appreciate that. Although, no, you know what? I mean,
it's fine.
Yeah, my phone number's all over the place.
We'll add it later. But yeah, this is just clearance of the machine. We're telling the clearance from the saddles of the bridge to where it should be checking. So that's always 15 millimeters on less certain guitars.
Okay.
Across the board, it's mostly 15. And then now we tell it the length of the nut to the first fret, and then the fret width, and that gives it the scale length, and then what bit size it needs to use when it's cutting the guitar. So it's 34.9 on this, and 3 millimeters, some jumbo frets.
Nice.
Yep, okay. And yeah, after we tell the machine everything it needs, it's ready to go start scanning. So we just close the door, and the machine won't start until I close the door. Yep, okay. And then right now I just hit process. We'll tell it we want fret cutting, and we'll go. And there it's off. So now it's just, we might have an error on this, which will be interesting.
Okay.
So I just noticed it did something on the nut. The guitar might not be fully in the cradle. It might give me an error right here. So yeah, there we go. Give me an error. So I know exactly what that means. So let's adjust it real quick.
Great.
All right, we'll go again. There we go. Now it's started on the fretboard.
Nice.
Just trying to find the G string right now. There it is. Looking for the B. Trying to find the E now. Go to the D string. Yep. Go for the A. All right, it's found all the saddle positions of the strings, and it's going to go to the top and find the strings by the nut. This is all just mapping out the guitar.
Right.
So it knows where each fret is, each string is. But it pushes the string to the side when it's scanning the frets right now under each string. And it pushes to the side slightly. So when it'll probably strum the G string when it comes back up. Yep, there it is.
Nice.
It should be the last thing it does, and it should spit out a graph of the fretboard.
I'm expecting these frets to be a mess. All right.
So here's the scan of the guitar. Actually, the action. That's the first thing I look at.
Okay.
It's just how off the action is.
All right.
It's actually spot on where we want it.
Nice.
Except for the high E string can go a little lower.
Okay.
But it's in that tolerance zone, that yellow highlighted.
Okay.
So if it's in the highlighted part, it's very good. Okay, but yeah, I'm just scrolling through strings. So right now, this is the low E string, the .042. So yeah, the fretboard's relieved.
Okay.
And you can, we see that as we scroll through. So the high E string, there's a gap. The blue line is the optimal relief we want in the fretboard for the action we set. The red line on the string, this is the string. That's the saddle, that's the nut, that's the actual string, and the green is the action we set it for.
So does it need to be, does the truss rod need to be tweaked?
Yes, so we'll have to tighten the truss rod just a little bit. It's not much.
Okay, well, you know what, I mean, we can drop that saddle on.
With that one string that was giving you problems, that one fret, it's right there.
What?
I can see it.
Oh, yeah.
It's right there.
Yeah, imagine that.
And then you got a bunch of other stuff down here. That's just on the high E string. B string, yeah.
Yeah,
so, yeah, let's get the truss rod adjusted. We'll tell it we want to do a truss rod adjustment. And then we'll open it up, adjust the truss rod, close it, and I'll give it another scan.
Sounds great.
Truss rod is adjusted. Machine knows we just closed the door. And it's off to scan it again.
Okay, so it'll scan it again with the truss rod adjusted, and it should give us like a much happier reading.
Yeah, we'll see where it is.
I mean, it's not going to be perfect, but with the truss rod adjusted, the neck will be better.
Well, we need the neck to be in a specific spot.
Yes.
For a really nice fret level. Because, yeah, if you have a bad neck, bad fretboard, fretwork's not going to be that good either.
And that right there is the important part of, like, you've got to have a good tech. Without a good tech, this machine isn't worth anything, because if you put this in here, like if we would have just let it run like that, it probably would have been a nightmare, right?
Yeah, it would probably give us a bunch of errors too, because when you have a relief neck, the frets above the 12th fret are usually on the higher side, compared to when you tighten the neck down to a nice straight relief, those frets go down in height too, off the initial graph. We'll see the difference.
Right.
It's pretty weird. A lot of times, like, it looks like your high frets are very, very high. You do a couple of neck adjustments, and it brings it down to a reasonable level, and then you can cut it. The machine only cuts a certain amount of fret material at a time.
Okay.
It's a lot of material. But usually if you're going over that, there's something wrong with the setup of the guitar or with the neck. So that's a little better.
Yeah, it looks like
they could still use another adjustment, just slightly more.
Well, heck, let's do it. Although that
it's getting better. But you can see that one fret is still sticking up right there.
Well, I imagine that thing's going to stick up no matter what.
But then we got low spots now right there off the optimal line. And you got another big low spot there.
Yep.
So after this adjustment, which we're just tightening up this little gap right there.
Right.
Like I'll do a, not even an eighth of a turn on the truss rod to close that. They ought to bring these down even more, that up a little bit more too, and then we'll have to do a full level.
All right.
But this is standard for, I usually do 2 or 3 on each guitar, just to get it where it should be.
So how long does what we're doing, how long does that normally take?
The whole process?
Yeah.
2 hours.
2 hours, okay.
Compared to a by hand job, that's extremely fast.
Yes, no, I've done this before, and it's and I'm fairly positive that I'm going to be nowhere near as accurate.
Yeah, it's pretty dang accurate.
Well, if there is any one thing that I've learned over the course of playing, it's that setup is everything.
Oh yeah.
If you could have the greatest guitar in the world, and if it's not set up, then it's going to be just an absolute miserable experience. And you can have the cheapest guitar in the world, and if it's set up great, then it's a joy to play.
That's what we've done with this machine countless times.
Yeah.
We've put many Squires in here, and they outrun very high-end Fenders and other brands that have not been Pleked.
Yeah.
It's the setup.
Yeah, that is.
I just did an Epiphone last week. It was a $200 Epiphone acoustic, and the guy says it plays better than his like $2,000 J45.
Yeah.
So, okay, well the fretboard isn't perfect, but it's exactly where we need it to be.
Okay. It looks a lot better than before.
Yeah. And I did maybe a quarter turn max on the truss rod between the two turns. So it wasn't that off, but it makes a big difference on the end product. There's a couple gaps, like if you wanted this fretboard to be perfect, that would involve pulling the frets, planing it, installing new frets, and then doing a Plek, but that's a little overkill.
That doesn't sound like it'd be worth it.
You wouldn't notice a difference. If the fretboard was really warped, then we would do that, but that's overkill on this guitar. But yeah, let's get it. Let's go into the fret cutting software.
Yeah.
The fretboard looks really good. Fret heights are good. You don't have really any really low frets. The lowest you get down to is like 0.79.
Great.
Yeah, which is good.
Jumbo frets, I mean, they should be able to take a couple leveling crowns, and I doubt this has ever been leveled and crowned.
Okay, here's your buzz spots. So on the high E string, your 3rd fret buzzes, 10th and 11th, and then your 20th and 22nd. And we obviously know the 20th buzzes because that's the dead fret. And you got some buzz spots in the middle between like 7 and 11. There's a G string. All the triangles are buzz spots. And on the low E, it's up there on the fretboard because we have big high frets up there. Just uneven fretwork, which is typical for a guitar this old.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll just pretty much tell the machine how much we want to cut under each fret or each string. And then we'll switch this to after cutting so I can see the buzzes go away. So I just teeter-totter down here. We want to keep that not that low. So it's large, get it quicker. Alright, we have to watch this spot up here.
Which one?
The high E string, the first couple frets.
Okay.
They're getting borderline a little too low, but I've noticed if it's under 0.75, it gives it problems, but we're not even near that.
Okay.
Shouldn't cause an issue, but we'll just keep an eye on it. See, there's that max cutter too, the max height to cut. So usually that involves me just messing around with this software, trying to find a good balance between not cutting the frets too low and not cutting the frets too much. Making sure we have plenty of fret material left. It's like a balancing act. But it's looking pretty good. The only spot we have is up here. Let's bump this up a little bit, try to get rid of that. Yeah, if these frets were any lower, the first two on the high side, maybe replace it, but they're not giving us issues. It's the frets behind that, so
okay.
We'll run with this. Looks good. It's a lot to look at, but I've looked at it for quite a while.
Well, it looks like
this is the magic part of the machine.
Yeah. I am sure that this is a German machine, right? Yeah, I'm sure there are lots of Germans doing some pretty insane coding to figure all this out.
Yes, there's a lot more options too, but I don't really go into those. I don't have need for that. All right. Yeah, it's going to give us the little error, but we're not even cutting those frets that'll give us the error, so we'll just continue.
All right, and then it's going to start cutting. Oh,
yeah,
now
I have to pull the strings off and get the guitar ready to get cut.
All right, very important that you've got the strings completely.
Yes, you don't want the strings
out
to
of
get
the way.
caught in the cutter.
I imagine that'd be horrible quick.
It's happened before.
Yeah.
With like a piece of tape just coming up a little bit. it usually cuts straight through the string.
Okay.
Because that thing is spinning quick and it doesn't budge. All right, these should be good. We'll still tape that down just to make sure it doesn't get into the cutter. All right, so that's holding the strings just so they don't somehow move up.
Right.
They shouldn't move at all, even without that tape. Okay, yeah, we just gotta get the straps on it. This is pretty much like anti-vibration.
Okay.
Just holding the neck as tight as possible so the guitar doesn't move
Okay.
in the cradle at all. Because without these straps, the only thing that's holding it is this little bungee right here.
Oh, Jesus, that's scary.
That's the only thing that holds the guitar up and down without these on it. But when it's cutting it, when it's doing anything to the guitar other than scanning it, we put these straps on. They're pretty tight.
Okay.
So I'll show the scan because it saves every scan, but it uses a scan that we just used.
Mm-hmm.
That final truss rod adjustment with the string tension, and it'll scan it again with this on the guitar.
Okay.
And then do some math between the two, and that's how it knows where to cut each fret and how much to cut on each fret.
That sounds way smarter than me.
Yes. Very smarter than me too. Yeah, so the guitar it's bolted to this machine now, pretty much.
Rock solid.
Yeah.
I imagine if it moved even just a little bit, that would be a...
Oh, it'll give me errors and everything.
Okay.
It'll let me know if something's weird about this scan.
So essentially, you've got to really try to mess up with this thing.
Yeah.
But it can be done.
You can mess it up, it'll give you an error, and then you'll have to fix the error before you can proceed.
All right.
I've spent on a couple guitars when we first got it, a couple errors popped up, and the manual is pretty good, but there's a few things you have to connect the dots with.
Well, and then one of the things too is that, I mean, this is obviously, you can tell just by looking at it, a very expensive machine. Mm-hmm. But when you buy one, part of your purchase price gets you Joe Glazer to come here and teach you how to run it. And
yeah, so we went over the common errors with all that. I've had to learn the hard way of what not to do on certain guitars. Some of those guitars are back here as my experimental guitars. Some are missing, some have half the frets in them. Some have frets that are ground down all the way.
Wow.
On purpose to learn what not to do. Okay, it's gonna start cutting now.
And they're going to be crowned too, huh?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
That's just amazing. Do you have to polish them afterwards?
Just a little bit, yeah.
A little bit?
I use some like some 1500 grit sandpaper, 2500, and then some quad-aught steel wool. And it gives a nice shine to it.
Nice. So what does this process cost?
Like on a walk-in guitar?
Walk-in guitar. Somebody walks in and says, I want to Plek my guitar.
$250 before tax.
$250 before tax,
yes.
In 2023.
Yes.
Okay, so...
But that's what this is going through, and then all the work afterwards too.
Right.
So pretty much all the fret polishing, and then any saddle adjustments, nut adjustments. Like a lot of times on acoustic guitars mainly, the nut is very high off the first fret. Mm-hmm. So we'll shape those down where they should be to make it easier to play around that first position. But yeah, and that's involves intonation too on electric guitars and all the normal stuff on a setup.
So really, Glenn, let's see.
It's like $190 for the Plek and then $60 for the setup if you want to break it down like that.
Okay.
If you want to do like a regular setup, it costs $60.
What if somebody buys a guitar from you? Now, there's a certain price point where it comes free with the purchase of the guitar, right?
Yeah, we offer most guitars that are free Plek with the purchase.
Okay.
Usually somebody will buy it in store and then come the next day and pick it up.
Yeah.
Depends how busy we are too. Sometimes we do a lot of stuff like that with our online store too. We'll include free Plex with the purchase. So some days, like last Monday, we had 3 or 4 guitars in line for the machine, which the machine, if you're pretty much on the repairs, keep them going, you could do 4, maybe 5 a day.
Okay.
And that's constantly like getting a guitar ready, getting another one ready here. Once that one's done, putting another one in there, you polish this one, and then get the other one ready, and then once that, you just keep the loop going. But it still takes a lot of time.
Okay. Well, let's say somebody buys like a, what's your cheapest, okay, like an Ibanez Geo, right? Those
those are like $299.
Yeah, like how much would you charge to throw a Plek in?
$299. That's a like I wouldn't charge full Plek price. I wouldn't charge them at $250.
Okay.
So just the guitar, like extra $100.
Extra $100. So for an extra $100, it's totally worth it because your Geo's going to play like freaking J-Craft after that, right?
Pretty much, yeah.
No?
Yeah, pretty much exactly like a J-Craft because we put some J-Crafts in here and they don't need to be plugged.
Yeah.
The fretwork is very good. Same with the high-end PRSs. Like we do a lot of SEs for our customers, the SE line, and yeah, after they're going through this process, they're as good as the core line, other than the pickups and.
Right.
But fretwork-wise, yes.
The stuff that the Plek doesn't do.
Yes.
It's not going to rewind your pickups.
Yeah. I wish.
Wouldn't that be nice?
I still use the fret end ones to touch up fret ends because that's another thing it doesn't do is the very edges.
Right.
So if somebody clipped the frets and didn't file them down, you still have to touch that by hand.
No, I remember when we were we're talking about making a video of this thing, we were actually discussing having me do this in my shop and then having this do this on 2 very inexpensive guitars, like probably
Some Geos or some Squires.
Yeah, Squires or something like that. And the more we found out about this machine, the more we just figured, you know, no, that'd just be a waste of time.
Yeah.
There's no way in the world that I'm going to be able to replicate this, you know. Even if I were to take like a day or 2 and be like really meticulous.
It's doing that bad fret.
Yeah.
8 times.
8 times. I'm going to have to email that dude that I bought this guitar from. I don't know.
And the 20th fret is 9 times.
Damn.
So yeah, that's the problem spot on the guitar was the upper frets. Should be almost done. It's got a lot left to do on that fret.
Right.
And the 20th fret, because it's only on past 4. But it's knocked out pretty much all the other frets.
Well,
so it should be just going back and forth between 19 and 20.
19 and 20.
And maybe 11. I think 11 took 6.
22, 9 of 9 times.
Yeah, that's it. That's the last fret. It'll do a quick scan after, which is like a quality control before we put the strings back on it.
It looks like it is saying, nope, done.
Yep, and now it's going to do a quick quality control to make sure it didn't miss any spots. And then we'll put the strings back on and do an actual quality control under string tension.
Nice.
And after that, we get the okay from the machine. It tells us quality control achieved or not when we get the readout. And if we get it achieved, then we'll just pull the guitar up, polish the frets, and it's plugged. That's it. Go back to the resting position. So yeah, and we get a little prompt that tells us open the door for final measurement. Gives us instructions on how to proceed. That's right out the machine. You can see some machining marks right there. We'll polish that out. Clean it up. Okay, yeah, and then just flex the neck again. Tuned up, same position.
Wow, look at that. You're
yeah,
kidding.
I'll go into detail, but here's the first scan of the guitar when it came in.
Okay, Nightmare.
So there's the low E string, the A string, D, G.
And we're looking
E.
like over there.
Over here and down here too.
Yeah.
Because this area, there's a lot of low spots that cause a lot of buzzing, and then up here, that was our dead fret.
Yeah.
But yeah, under the B. So yeah, a couple of neck adjustments, and then program the machine, let it do its magic, and then.
That's what it is now.
So that's what it is now.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And you can see, I mean, you have this, you can see, when you don't see the red line, that's like pretty good. There is a little inconsistency, but this is so zoomed in. I mean, this point on the graph to this point is 1/4 of a millimeter. So you're looking at
1/4 of a millimeter. That is imperceptible
yes.
to anything that anybody be able.
Yes.
Like
you can see it on the machine because it goes down to 1/1000 of an inch, but that's the only inconsistency. But that is.
I mean, we might as well be looking at molecules as
Yeah.
far as how applicable it is to whether or not.
But you can see across the fretboard, you can barely see that red line.
Oh,
anywhere.
dude. No, this is amazing.
So that's pretty much, this is what I expect a guitar to come out like on the Plek machine. And the fretboard stayed the same. We still have that nice relief.
Right.
We still have those little gaps because that's inconsistencies on the fretboard material, like their actual rosewood.
Right.
But the strings are pretty much exactly, even that little E string, I guess it moved down a little bit.
I guess so.
It could have been just the string sitting weird in the saddle. The D string's a little low, the little G's a little low, but if that doesn't cause an issue, at least you won't touch that. The nut is a little high, but that's typical for a Floyd Rose nut. You can't slot a Floyd Rose nut.
Nope.
So that just stays this way it is. But the action's pretty much spot on. It's a little higher than when we targeted, but it's in that tolerance where you're not going to really notice a difference.
Yeah, I'm not.
So it's pretty much done. We just got to polish it up.
Yeah, let's do that.
And then intonate it. And the cool thing is, if you have any issues with the guitar in the future, like, man, the fret's buzzing again. We have this profile. We can pull up, boom. Pull it up, and there's the guitar when you first brought it to me, and then there's the guitar when you left with it. And then we can scan it and compare this graph with the new graph that you just have an issue with. Which after that, if you were to have issues with it, it's most likely just like a neck adjustment thing or...
Right.
Because some guitars that I do adjust the neck a lot on, a couple days, they'll start to settle in or have the memory in the wood.
Yeah.
Customer brings it back. I scan it again real quick. I'm like, oh yeah, the neck moved a little bit. Adjust it, flex it some more. Tell them if it needs the adjustment again, just swing by again, but it shouldn't. And that's usually the only things that come back. Everything else is very positive reviews. As you can see, the quality is insane.
We're back from the Plek. I've got the guitar all strung up, set up, and I got to tell you, every single issue that was going on with this thing is completely and totally gone. Now, one thing I will say that's really kind of interesting about the Plek is that the frets are now asymmetrical. They're not perfectly even, and I'm sure that's by design because of what I asked for as far as getting this thing to just an ultra shredder setup. So is the Plek worth it on any guitar? Well, you know what? I mean, it's like $250, $300 to do it. So it's up to you, you know. Is it worth it to Plek your Squire? Well, you know what? I mean, if you want a great playing guitar, then, you know, probably so. Here's the next thing, though, and this is a big deal. Garbage in, garbage out. So it really all depends on your tech. James is very, very good. Now, I do have one friend, he took one of his basses to be Pleked just because, like everybody else, he heard that the Plek is this magic machine that you stick your thing in and it comes out and it plays itself. He was so disappointed because the tech wasn't that good. Now, you've got to be really talented at screwing up to get this machine to just plow through all these different things that it's going to throw up warnings and say like, nope, nope, try again and things like that. You've got to be spectacularly good at messing up, but it can be done. I hope you guys understand now what the Plek is, what it isn't, what it does, what it doesn't, because it's no replacement for a tech. And you know what? Other than your neck here, it's not going to do anything else for you. You know, it's not going to rewire your pickups. It's not going to set your bridge. It's not going to do anything like that. It's going to mainly, you know, make your frets and your fretboard as perfect for you as it can. Now this all depends on you knowing what it is that you like as well. So if you go in and you say, I like this, but in actuality you only want to like this, but in reality you like something else, well, it's gonna give you what you ask for rather than what you actually like. So that's it for now, and until next time, this has been Eddie Kernan for Rexylab, explaining modern technology to guitar players, one Plek machine at a time.